Hello. Today is Sunday, October 6th, 2024. We're about a month away from the election. I want to do something different today and just kind of introduce this video before I actually get into the video. So you get to see me for about 30 seconds. That being said, let's call a spade a spade. This election is going to be a big one. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be full of turmoil on both sides. There will be a lot of name calling and a lot of false accusations, etc., etc. But it needs to stop. Left versus right, right versus left, it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. For your personal safety and that of your family, especially if you have draft-age children or husbands, this is about you. If you're on the left, please share this video. If you're on the right, please share this video. If you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or atheist, please share this video. If you're undecided on this election, please share this video. If you're already sold on who you're going to vote, please share this video. I respect that everyone has their own opinions and comes from different backgrounds that have shaped those opinions. The adopted child of gay parents who are atheists will probably have a lot different upbringing than someone who is homeschooled by conservative Christian parents. That's just obvious way of life. This video is not about our differences. It is, however, about the literal safety of our nation, regardless of political differences. Please do not vote based on simply who you like or who you hate, but instead vote for your pocket, vote for your paycheck, your bank account, and most importantly, for your backyard and your family. This is not about LGBT. It's not about abortion. It's not about DEI. It's not about cancel culture. It's not about live your truth. It's not about debt cancellation. It's not about MAGA. It's not about migration. It's loosely based on the economy. And this video has everything to do with foreign relations. This election has everything to do with foreign relations. If we don't figure this out, it could very well mean the end of the United States, or at least the beginning of the next World War. Possibly World War III. Now stop and think about that for just a second. We are literally closer to World War III than we ever have been. That's not hyperbole, that's not exaggeration, and that's absolutely the truth. We are closer to World War III than we ever have been. And the outcome of this election is either going to add to or take away from that possible scenario. Having said that, let's address the elephant in the room. The media and the left hate Trump. Tell me something I don't know. Trump is a foul-mouthed, outspoken bully, a philanderer, by the way, so was Bill Clinton, whose natural persona can rub people the wrong way. He also does things his way and is not afraid to say what he's thinking. It's no wonder he rubs so many people the wrong way. But consider this, as far as economics and foreign relations go, he was also one of the absolute best presidents we've ever had. Economically, gas prices were cheaper, food prices were cheaper, and generally people had more money in their pocket, being taxed much less. Conversely, the Democrats say, tax the rich, but their programs to help the illegal immigrants and to push debt cancellation will naturally just cause the prices of everything else to skyrocket: food, housing, gas, medical assistance, etc. So although you may not be getting taxed as much on your paycheck, you'll be paying a lot more for everything else. In the history of the United States, the Trump administration was one of the few administrations, if not the only administration, where America was not involved in some sort of war. Ask yourself this question. Despite your personal bias for the man as a person, what was he doing right as president that kept us out of war and that kept many world leaders in check so as to prevent them from going to war? This was because Trump was an in-your-face leader who was not afraid to get his hands dirty and kept worldwide players and countries in check and let them know that America would get involved the second they got out of line. Conversely, the current administration has been involved, at least indirectly, in 2 major wars and has also been trying to prevent 2 possible other wars from starting. Within the last 4 years, Ukraine invaded Russia 13 months after Biden took office. Iran rebels invaded Israel a year ago. China has just been itching for reasons to invade Taiwan for years now, and North Korea has been threatening America with nuclear strikes for well over 10 years. Now ask yourself this question. If you were a foreign power and wanted to attack your enemies, and you knew full well that the United States was a force to be reckoned with, who would you be more afraid of upsetting in the United States? A mean dog with a track record of success, a geriatric hospice patient who can barely finish a sentence, or a woman who got hired for her looks because her boss couldn't cut it, who was also never even officially nominated to be the Democrat nominee. People call Trump a dictator. Is that because he wants more power, or because he actually used his power properly? Interestingly enough, Donald Trump was the only president of the United States to ever sit down with an actual dictator, Kim Jong-un. Did Trump do this to gain more power, or did he do it to show North Korea that we're not their enemy and to keep the peace? On the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, terrorists attacked the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi, and when the embassy called for immediate help, they were denied assistance by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration, being left to die or fend for themselves. When a possible repeat happened in 2020, when Iranian rebels attacked the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, immediately President Trump sent 750 troops to assist in the attack and aid their defense, thus preventing another Benghazi. While in office, President Trump was accused of using Russian influence to sway the 2016 election. Later in 2018, in federal court, evidence proved that Hillary Clinton and other U.S. intelligence officials, including members of the Obama administration, CIA Chief John Brennan, and Bruce Orr, the fourth highest-ranking official in the Justice Department, were actually working with Russia and had been employed by the Kremlin. And while testifying under oath, former FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith admitted that the FBI was illegally wiretapping Trump's campaign. Now ask yourself this question. Why would Russia want to prevent Trump from taking office? And why would the Democrats try to frame Trump of doing the very thing they were actually doing themselves? First off, the Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for close to 3 years now. It started in February 2022. The Biden administration has responded by sending millions of dollars in weapons to aid Ukraine in defense and counteroffensive. Russia has threatened to attack the United States with nuclear warheads if we do not stop. Any day now, we could either be attacked directly by Russia or pulled into the war to help Ukraine. Trump has responded by declaring his intention to stop this war within 24 hours if elected by getting on a three-way call or in person and forcing an agreement between Putin and Zelensky. Second off, the genocidal attack on Israel by Iranian rebels resulted in war amongst themselves that has been going on for exactly a year as of October 7th. Iran made the first move, brutally killing many innocent people. When Israel attacked with countermeasures, the liberal left started blaming Israel and claiming Free Palestine. There's been innocent casualties on both sides, Muslim casualties and Jewish casualties. Many colleges nationwide saw many protests and even rioting in favor of Israel stopping their perceived atrocities against Palestinians. For the most part, the Biden administration has been caught lying, or has been caught in the middle, trying to placate the liberal left and their support of Palestine, while also supporting their ally, Israel, primarily by continuously calling for a ceasefire. Now ask yourself these questions. Although we may never have the answer, what do you suppose the odds are of these two wars never happening in the first place if Trump was still in office? And how do you think both Trump or Kamala would respond if elected? Would the wars cease or continue to drag out? You see, this goes deeper than left versus right and social issues dividing us as a nation. It's more about common sense and what's legitimately right for the future of our nation. Basically, it comes down to these four questions. Who would you want as Commander-in-Chief? Who would you trust more with nuclear codes? Who do you trust more to keep us out of a war? And who do you trust more if we are pulled into a war? The person who makes you feel better and doesn't offend you? Or the person who's willing to put boots on the ground to protect you? We need to put many of our political and social bias on the shelf and start looking at common sense and asking ourselves questions that strike at the very heart of our nation. Let's also consider the delicate mechanics of man versus woman. In America, many claim that there's multiple genders, but foreign, educated, grown adults, people who grew up Muslim and Jewish, they don't play that game. Take DEI out of the picture. Take personal feelings on the LGBT world out of the picture. Let's take American politics completely out of the picture and be realistic. And why realistic? Because America's next war may depend on how seriously we do or do not take biological gender roles and their place in history. Let's talk about worldwide and religious standards and norms. What are the odds that Muslim leaders, conservative or terrorist, would take seriously anything that a woman has to say, particularly a woman who hasn't even had that much success in the last 4 years? That they would give her the same respect and attention as they gave the last 20 years worth of presidents? Why would Muslim leaders give her any sort of respect on the world stage, knowing of her support for abortion, sex changes of youth, and other LGBTQ ideas, something diametrically opposed to the Muslim faith? Would Muslim leaders be more apt to talk, advise, and counsel with Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Which president will be better to navigate the issues between Russia and Ukraine? Trump, who has been fighting Russian interference for 8 years now? Kamala, tied directly to Biden and his illegal influence in Ukraine, as well as his illegal wire transfer of $3 million to the Ukrainian gas board? Which president will better navigate the issues between Israel and Iran? Trump, who stopped an embassy attack the very second it began? Or Kamala, whose friends Clinton, Obama, and Biden have shown no restraint? Who would you to trust the Taliban? Donald Trump? Or Kamala, whose boss Biden simply up and left Afghanistan and left them $250 million in weapons and supplies? Who would North Korea take more seriously? The man who personally visited with their supreme leader? Or a woman? Returning to Israel and Iran, consider this. The current war aside, the Jews want to rebuild the Third Temple in preparation for the arrival of the Messiah. They've been talking about it for decades and have been gathering materials to build it for just as long. They're almost ready to start building. The materials are there, the altar is built, and the red heifers are ready to be sacrificed. They want to build it on Temple Mount. There's just one problem. Muslims occupy Temple Mount with Dome of the Rock. Any Jewish/Israeli attempt to take over Temple Mount and to destroy the Dome of the Rock, the second holiest site in Islam, would absolutely result in a major war and would probably pull us into World War III. Imagine what will happen worldwide when the Jews declare their actual intent to do so. Best case scenario, the Muslims feel threatened by the Jews encroaching on and blaspheming their holy site. Worst case scenario, they believe that the Jewish temple will instigate the arrival of their Antichrist equivalent. Thus, your political and social beliefs are kind of irrelevant when viewed in terms of literal World War III type events that could be triggered at any time. And who would you feel most comfortable with at the helm of the United States when and if that happens? On a side note, during a national crisis, such as a hurricane or an earthquake or a major riot breaks out in your town, which side of the fence do you feel safer on? During the George Floyd riots, the left was promoting active rioting, while falsely calling it peaceful protests, while the right, including the police and National Guard, were fighting against it. What local economy was ever better off after burning and looting of buildings? If you were caught in the middle of a riot, would you feel safer from the left leaders promoting it or the right leaders fighting against it? In a natural disaster, would you feel safer with liberals who identify as they, them, and have gender degrees, or conservatives who naturally prep for a living and know how to live off-grid? Which political party would you legitimately trust in a natural disaster if your life actually depended on it? Those who share your political views, or those who opposite your political views? If Hurricane Helene has taught us anything, it's taught us two things: who genuinely cares for you, and how money is managed. Following Hurricane Helene, who do you think came first to offer aid? The president, the vice president running for president, or the former president, also running for president? Trump was first and brought many supplies to aid the people. Biden came a day or two later, but didn't really do much. Kamala came last, first choosing to appear on a sex podcast instead. Literally, no joke. And speaking of Helene, FEMA has all but run out of money. And why have they run out? Because funds have been allocated by none other than Kamala Harris to fund her national invite of migrants through the front doors. Also, many people on social media have been talking about how FEMA, broke as they are literally taking the supplies brought forward by volunteers. As far as the election goes, consider this. Kamala Harris was never even elected as the Democrat nominee. It was just handed to her, completely voiding the process. Trump has survived an actual attempt on his life and another planned attempt on his life. Iran was recently found attempting to hack the Trump campaign and sell their findings to the Harris campaign. Of the two candidates, who feels like more of a threat to our national security? Someone treasonously handed the presidential nominee, or the former president surviving attacks on his life, who's being hacked by the Iranian enemies of our ally, Israel? So, who should you vote for? The lady who skipped out on helping a hurricane-decimated state in favor of a sex podcast? Who lied to us for 4 years about the mental capacity of her boss? Who's somehow running for president, despite never even being elected as the Democrat nominee? And whose predecessors have a history of blatant lies and false accusations against the current Republican nominee, who probably won't be taken seriously on the world stage? Or the guy who has a track record of improving the economy, strengthening the military, who has a fiercely loyal following, who has personally met with world leaders to strengthen foreign relations, and is quick to respond when America is threatened by terrorists, and quick to show support when natural terrorists decimate the land. If the last 4 years of a broken economy and the world on the brink of war are any indication of what the next 4 years would look like, why would you vote for the woman who put us here in the first place versus the guy that had a booming economy and kept wars from happening?